One Saturday afternoon, after church, my dad took us kids to one of his mates' houses from church. My dad's mate had his two sons there, and a mate of one of his sons as well. They had their four-wheel drives there, and we piled into both of the four-wheel drives, and we went into the forestry just south of the town that was 20 minutes west of where we all lived. There was a mountain overlooking the town also, so driving up the mountain was a must. We had drove through the township and started heading for the forestry. There were a few ways to get up the mountain, and there were many lookout spots up there. This place was called Bogged. I had always looked at the mountain from different angles and perspectives from around the district, and it always fascinated me since I was a kid. Going up there was going to be something else. We started climbing the mountain, and first off we climbed up the steep four-wheel drive track that would take you up to a tall tower standing on top, with power lines running down the front of the hill. We could see the township down below. It looked wicked, I thought. This was at the east end. We decided to take the long way around and drive up to the other end of the mountain. This part of its elevation consisted of cliff faces running along the front of the mountain, right around to the end, to the west. This lookout seemed a lot higher up than the east end, and due to the big boulders that formed the cliffs, it was a magical sight to see. We then decided to head back to our mate's house, but we would take a more scenic route back, which meant we would follow the windy beat-up track that would follow along the top and the front of the mountain, heading back in the eastern direction. My dad, my sister, his mate, and his son, in their vehicle, drove off first. The other son and his mate, and me and my brother, were in the other four-wheel drive. We were driving along, and next thing, we lost sight of the others. "Where did they go?" one of the guys asked, puzzled. "They were just there in front of us a second ago." The driver tried to pick up speed, but it was no use. We had lost them now. And in front of us was a big puddle covering the whole road, from one side to the other. "Will we make that?" "Yeah, of course. It's just a puddle." But unfortunately, we weren't going quick enough, and then we slid out and started spinning in one spot. "Ah, damn it, we're bogged. I must have misjudged that completely." The guys got out and were looking for a way to get out of the mud trap, even with me and the passenger pushing it while the driver accelerated, but that didn't work. We sat there wondering if the others would come back due to us not following them now, but it wasn't looking promising. It's not like we could call anyone, because back then no one had a mobile phone. We sat and waited to see if anyone else would drive along and stop to help, but there was no one. So there was one last thing to do. We went looking for some logs that we could position in front of the bogged wheel and drive over them to get out that way. It did take a while and a few goes to get the four-wheel drive out of the puddle, but we made it out. By the time we got out, it was just on dark. I bet everyone back at the house would have been worried by now. Once we got back, everyone was worried and wondering what had happened. We explained the situation, and the whole thing that spun us out was that how we had lost the others so quickly, although they hadn't realised until they got back onto the highway. It's a situation I'll never forget in a hurry.